Wow, don't we look when we're like this? Our spine and our arms and our shoulders all connecting, but our outer body's all squished up into a massive face. That's okay, we're connecting inside where we need to connect. We want to say, no judgment here. But we have to be honest with ourselves and say, there is judgment here. And we're facing the judgment literally face on, head on. We've got our mouth guard in that protects that gap so that it doesn't loosen up anymore. All to do with the central channel and the sushumna and the spine. I've been noticing that our spine's getting healthier lately because the arches in our feet are getting healthier. That's how we feel things. So this is just a really quick one because we've been wanting to get it out. So we'll close our eyes so we can focus. And we release the judgment and bring in compassion and grace and gratitude. Letting go of judging the book by its cover. Centering ourselves, being aware we breathed in through our mouth and out through our mouth, and we did what naturally wanted to flow. No shoulds, just what is, with observation and awareness, compassion, patience, kindness. So, we feel much better now after that. We've just been doing our morning bed Shintosai yoga, restorative yoga practice and breathing. We have the tongue on the top of the roof of our mouth there. So we do our internal mouth yoga. And that's how, from the inside out for us, is doing yoga from the inside out with our breath. A subtle shaking and rocking, especially in the pelvis area, to release the serras major and serras minor, where the majority of fear and trauma is stored. And then our tongue, and positioning our tongue in our mouth and on our teeth and in different places to expand the inside of that ball, that sphere. And the thing that's been coming to us lately, we're revisiting. We've visited this quite a few times over the last decade, and when we do and more information comes in, but I don't think we've been able to express this yet publicly. I think we have done it on an audio diary, but not for a while. So part of our healing journey has been to dance with solar energies, dance with lunar energies through different modalities. We drink moon water, chakra crystal charged, shungite cleansed. And we've been setting our alarm for moonrise and moonset, sunrise and sunset for over half a decade. And Dito bye, Dino more excited to share this. Yeah, Dito bye. Okay, so this is really okay. So our littles are excited to share this, and that's with getting the internal frequencies and vibrations and expressing them outwards, and this affects the pattern in the body. So what was just going round, the thoughts that are coming in and going out of our head this morning, as we've started off doing our knees bent up, focusing on the direction of our feet with our heels down, our toes down, whether it's the same on both feet while we do our breathing and shaking. We tend to move our pelvis left and right, and we'll rock it to the floor and up gently as well, but the left and right tends to release create a release of the lockness and congestion. It's not lockness anymore, it's just kind of congestion. It needs that gentle move. And the moving here that you see, that's when the energy comes back up again. So you've got the central channel of the torus flow of the full torus functioning of the body, which goes down and up and through the Sushumna. And if one's central nervous system is functioning properly and it's all aligned, then we receive energies in and it filters it out and only takes in the energies and frequencies and information that it needs into the figure of 8 dynamics of the body. And the figure of 8 dynamics of the body is then bringing in the 2 toroidal flows of the shoulder, the center of the shoulder, the collarbone, down to the hip bone on both sides. So that's kind of like 2 toruses with 2 central channels. And that's the figure of 8 in all 3 directions, horizontal, vertical, and cut through the middle, X, Y, and Z. But we're in a world where more people are suffering from central nervous system disorders. And for us, that all links back to generational trauma and how back in the day, people didn't release the dissonant frequencies. They just suppressed them and repressed them and locked them inside. But there's only so much of the patterning that can do that before the implosion then explodes. So either it may implode in the person's life to create death or damage, but that patterning is then in their genetic makeup. And so that will get passed on to the kids. And so the kids can reaffirm that pattern and keep going down that same patterning, which is going with the flow from one perspective in a non-conscious way. And then you've got going with the flow in a conscious way. And then you've got the consciousness of understanding I can go with the flow there and it's healthy and feels good. It's not if it's healthy, it just feels good. Or I can go in the flow that way that doesn't feel good. Now, is that not feeling good a good thing, or is that not feeling good a bad thing? So it's a bit complex to kind of explain it all. There's a lot of different permutations, but us personally, we've said this before, we've grown up in a lot of discomfort and pain and suffering, but the people that have grown up in a lot of comfort and healthy love and good family situations, that have that internal patterning from generational trauma from grandparents, hi worm, it may be that for them to align themselves, they have to embrace discomfort a bit more. But it's normally easier for them to embrace discomfort because they've got healthy foundations. But when one suffered discomfort and learning to embrace comfort and non-suffering, one has to then understand the differences of the comfort and what comfort is, because we see comfort in a modern age of being in a house and turning on a light and everything being at your beck and call and really easy. We knew what we were like in lots of ways. We had the derogatory terminology that was projected upon us that we were lazy, and all these things, and so we knew we had to live our life in a certain way, because if we lived in a house we'd get depressed, and so we knew we had to live a lifestyle that kind of kept us moving and kept us functioning. We've learnt recently from Dr. Mindy Powell's that there's a very small percentage of people that do start intermittent fasting, and she focuses on women because women have to be extra careful and follow their cycle with hormones and everything with intermittent fasting. Otherwise they can start getting hair loss and things, which goes against what we're attempting to do for health. And she said there are actually a small percentage of people she's now discovering that aren't able to just lose weight from intermittent fasting like the majority of people can, and lose that belly fat, and they actually do have to keep moving. I think we come under that. But we realised we weren't lazy. It's to do with our Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, our fibromyalgia, our POTS. We've suffered physical pain our whole life, but never been allowed to express it. And so we lived in a van. Hello, darling. We lived in a van, and we lived in a caravan where we had to do physical work because it kind of kept our body strong, but we were also in lots of physical pain. And there's only so much a body can do when it's in physical pain. And so coming into a house, we've been put into comfort. It was very important we came into a wooden kind of house that was very connected to the elements, because so we didn't get too depressed, because whenever we live in a house we get really depressed because we're not as connected to the elements. And it's been a real journey, because there's comfort, but then there's like, well, we can't actually mentally cope with the physical pain anymore. And so we have to do things very different and do it from the subtle energetic body. And so that's what we've been doing. It takes a lot longer, and the conditioned, programmed societal mind continues that thing of like, we've got it wrong, we're lazy, it's not working because it's taking so long. But if one is forging new ways and forging new pathways and ideas, which is just so us, I mean, we're a quadruple Aquarius as well, and our North Node, our future, our destination, is conjunct our rising sign, our beginning, our start, which is meant to be more accurate in certain ways. And I'd say that our rising sign, our beginning, does very much, of Leo energies, does very much apply to our little ones, but not the older ones of us that don't like being seen. Well, even older child from like, very early teens and just before. It's our littles that like to be seen. But it's the future ones of us, which is the future adult and older ones of us, that need to learn to be seen, the North Node. So we interpret the astrological chart in our own Shintosai way as well. And we just got some insights about our Saturn conjunct Lilith, and how Saturn is Father Time. It's the tangible, it's the seen, it's the root chakra, the manifest into physical reality. And so there from one perspective, therefore it's colour red. And Lilith, and when you go on the spectrum of the colour rainbow, it goes from black to white. And then you go red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And normally the violet tend to, well, from a typical normal perspective we've seen, the violet goes then into white, but the red can then go into brown, which then goes into dark brown, which then goes into black. But when you bring that line together, the polar opposites of the white and black become the one, which is your yin and your yang. And somehow there's a inversion in that. We had loads of channelings yesterday to do with ratios and fractions, to do with 1320 time with the Mayan galactic calendar. And so that's all coming in, which is then going to lead into what we were saying about the sun gazing, because it's all to do somehow with fractions and ratios, but the sun gazing is to do with angles. And so thank you, my lovelies. This observation has mainly come to us due to these last two full moons being really Sagittarius and Capricorn in Western tropical astrology, but Scorpio and Sagittarius in Vedic sidereal, the actual placement of the astronomy rather than the astrology. And I'm going to drop our phone on our face in a minute. And so it's through that cycle of the tilt of Earth on its axes, and then the spin. And so in winter on the northern hemisphere, well, it depends. So you've got winter on the southern and you've got winter on the northern, but they're at different times. So let's say June, July and August on the southern hemisphere is winter, when the tilt is further away from the sun or something. Our conscious mind hasn't been able to put all these pieces together yet. But it's to do with the tilt of the Earth on the axes. It's to do with how in winter the tilt creates the shorter days and the longer nights. And in summer, the tilt creates the longer days. Because it must be, it's the Earth rotates on its axis in 24 hours, but that tilt is staying the same, because even though it's rotating on its axis, the northern hemisphere is still facing towards the sun more for like 3 months of the year to 6 months of the year as the Earth goes around the sun. So the Earth going around the sun it doesn't create seasons. It does create the seasons on the daylight time, but the rotating on its axes then creates the day and the night. But the length of the day and the night comes from the position, the angle where the sun is the centre and where the Earth is on that circumference, that perimeter. Thank you for your prayers and your healing, darling. We love it. That's awesome. This is just what we're going to talk about. But there, the center is the center. The sun is the center of the equation, the center of the circle. But the moon has helped us gather this information, because the moon is our depths, it's our feminine, it's the Lilith energies, our Lilith conjunct the Saturn. The depths is the dark, it's the mysteries, it's the void, and that's where we function best. Although we're still gathering the words and the intellectual, conscious, logical language of words to put to our already in-depth, really wise experiences and inner knowings and understandings. Because one can be really wise and have the inner knowings and understandings, but if they aren't able to communicate that through words or bring that up into the upper chakras, and this is where the journeying with the last 2 full moons and Mariana has been profound, because of the exchange of information we've given her and the exchange of information she's given us through these different frequency energetic pathways, but the similarities that overlap with different people that we watch and love, the yoga, her being on the southern hemisphere and ours being on the northern hemisphere, etc., etc. But the last reading we just listened to hers, she was describing about the sun being green, and we wouldn't have understood what she was saying because we're dark inside, we're deaf, blind and dumb up here. But before that, the sunset before that, I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one. I think it was Capricorn, but it could have been the Sagittarius, but I'm pretty sure it's the Capricorn. The sunset the night before, when we did our sun gazing, rather than it doing its pinks, it being bright white light and then going into its pinks and subtle yellows, it went into green, and it was mesmerizing. And it was down when we were down by the river, our special spot by the river, in these wee bits of woods, past a field that we've been growing up with, because we've seen it at its death when it got we don't know what it's called, tilled, cultivated, the soil mixed up, the manure put on. I think the manure's put on first, and then it's tilled up, and then the seeds are sown, and then the seeds grow, and now they're big, like, I think they're corn plants, but they haven't got corn on yet. And so that's really amazing, because it's that energetic exchange of information. It's like dancing. If the male is leading and dancing, it looks like, and from a very limited surface perspective, superficial muscles groups, judging a book by its cover. See, we've been working on our internal organs to realign them, to get rid of the nerve pain. For instance, when you're standing on a slope, people think stretching your hamstrings. If you stand on a slope with your feet upwards, so you're stretching the back of your leg, you're stretching your hamstrings. Whereas we watched a video that said when you're doing that, you're actually stretching your nerves, not your hamstrings. And so if your deep nervous system, so if there's certain muscles of your hamstrings that are tight, you've got a peripheral nervous system in your hamstrings, so you need to expand and stretch your peripheral nervous system to catch up with the central nervous system. Otherwise, you're going to create cuts in the threads. And so actually, when you're standing on a slope, you stand with your facing forwards with your feet pointing down the slope, that stretches the hamstrings, and then you can do the other one. And since we've been doing that, we've been suffering a lot less pain. We've walked backwards for over a year to sort out our knee pain and reorganize and repattern certain meridians, threads, energetic rainbow threads, we call them. And it's all walking backwards up some steps. It's all really working, but it's been slow. But the major ones lately, the sun gazing, setting our phone to the time, sunset, sunrise, paying attention to when it's balanced on the amount of light and moon on the phone, on the logical man-made time, paying attention to when it's balanced, where sun and moon rise together, sun and moon set together, or when the sun sets and the moon rises and they're at their opposites. To then what's actually then going on outside in the nature and the seasons, where there's a bit of a gap, and to when we do it on the 21st of the month for the equinoxes and the solstices, which we've been following as well. And so our Saturn conjunct our Lilith is if we speak in simple source energy language, then Lilith is black, Saturn is red. A healthy Saturn is red and green. So it's the grounding energies of the root chakra and the grounding energies of the heart chakra. That for us and it's more important really in our perspective to have a green grounding energy than a red grounding energy, because if one's just got a red grounding energy without a green, one gets caught up in the duality of red, of anger, lust, unhealthy desires which are unmanageable, uncontrolled, not balanced, and bring one into their addictions, even if that's just too much food, too much coffee, too much exercise, too much screen time. It's just where there isn't a balance, there isn't moderation. 14. Yeah, 14 was coming up heaps for us yesterday. And 41 is self-discipline, the mirror of 14. And one needs self-discipline to manage moderation, 14, which is the Temperance card in the tarot, and from the Rider-Waite perspective, that's Temperance, which is the card of Sagittarius, and we're talking about the Sagittarius full moon coming into completions. And so for us, our Saturn being conjunct our Lilith means we have this very deep, tangible experience of the void and the mysteries. And we're going to do a live later on, because it's not been that long since we've been down our back alley, but it could have been about a week. I think it's probably only about a few days, but it could have been about a week. And we were thinking we were going to pull out all the brambles and the big tall weeds and make it a bit more open space, but we decided not to, because we remembered the tall ugly green plants, from our little perspective, actually turn into loads and loads of yellow, little tiny yellow sunflower styley, dandelion styley plants, and it looks amazing. And we went round there yesterday for a walk, because we've not been managing that for a while, so it might have been a while, and it was all out, and the back of all the lane, either side of this crossroads, and the crossroads is even important because we're at a crossroads where we've left the castle of crossing into the blue, white castle of crossing into the blue castle of burning season. In a few days we're about to start the first day of the 13-day wave spell cycle that links this galactic year to the next galactic year and holds the void, the day out of time. And that's on our white mirror glyph of it's called white mirror. We're white solar mirror, but it's going to be white magnetic mirror, because they always start on a 1. But it means that this 13 days has the overall main cycle theme of white mirror. And you can see this in our Smoji Speaks, in our community posts that we're doing, because we've been doing this and developing the conscious, intellectual, domesticated, conditioned, programmed adult minds of us to be patient and observant and learn the language of our little uns that speak through colour, that speak through emojis, that speak through abstract number. And that's why we always put Shintosai to everything. And for us, it's very important, the path home to the heart, the sacred geometry symbol we did of the Lucas sequence, interlinking and entwining with the Fibonacci sequence, because the Fibonacci sequence for us is the pattern of life, and you can see it in the tangible reality, but it starts from zero. It starts from the perceived nothing, which is everything. It's the unseen, the untangible, which is the fundamental primary foundation. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, it's the more. Yeah, we used to know these. 233, 337, 77. But the most important, but the other one, rather than it starting from the other side of the door, the other side of the veil, starts from this tangible side of the veil, and it starts with the balancing energies of masculine and feminine. It starts with the curves and the lines. It starts with the 2. And for us, 2 is a massive vibration, because Snowflake was born when our host body was 2, and she's the bridge to a lot of this, name given to us from the Native Americans when we were 2. Host body was 2. And has been our lifeline, and has been connecting us and keeping us safe and grounded. While other aspects of us get birthed into the body that have never been birthed into the body, while the stunted generational consciousness ones of us heal the trauma and the pain and feel through the victim consciousness with compassion and not judgment, which has been so hard because of the society we live in and because of the family we've come from. So much judgment. I mean, when we did our ayahuasca journey, there wasn't any visuals or anything. Our body couldn't even make itself sick because of our physical distortions, because of our Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and the rest of it. And all that was going through the mind was just like, you're talking 5 hours of bombardment, of longer. I think it may be 7 hours, 8 hours until we were actually naturally sick on our own. The journey only lasted 4 hours, so it was another 3-4 hours of us just being in our own energy. Our energy wouldn't let the shaman lady anywhere near us. And it was just bombardment of belief system after belief system after belief system. And we can feel our prefrontal lobar cortex now tightening up. And so much is just making sense and coming together. The Saturn conjunct Lilith in our second house, which is the red and the black coming together. Us bringing these unknown mysteries through a new experiential lens of experiential perception, which we call Shintosai. Shintosai is the Shinto yoga experience. Shintos is Shinto self-empowerment. Shinto is all these beautiful nature spirits, and spirits that are in everything, whether it's rock, table, book, plant, mineral, rah. And it's very important to understand that we are all, as individual humans, a collective of consciousness, right down to the community consciousness of ourselves, the individual cell consciousness, the community conscious of the bacteria, and the individual bacterial consciousness. And this is what establishes our feelings, our emotions, that then create a mood, that then create a character state, that then create personality. And there's so much, even though we're dark in here, if we think of all those pictures with those lines, we've got that. It's more of like a dark with it's got a bit, it's like when you've made brown or black, tempted to make black from greens and blues and yellows, so it's almost black, but you might, if you get the light right, see a shimmering of these colours occasionally in the darkness. And it's in our house too. So yeah, we're not going to go into that, but house 2 is the blueprint of Taurus and finances and everything. House 2 for us is Virgo, so it's strongly connected to our house 1, which is Virgo. Our house 1 and 2 is Virgo, and although our rising and our north node is Leo, it's north node Leo at 29 degrees 22 and 29 degrees 28. So basically they're Virgo. If you do the progression chart, they're Virgo. Our progressed moon, our natal moon is 8 vibration, 17 degrees Aquarius, which is now in about actually 17 degrees Leo. No, sorry, 17 degrees Libra. So we're coming up to our progressed moon conjunct our natal Pluto. Din don momo. So we're having shifts. I have to sit up now. Okay, good old pause button. So paused it and put on some clothes. So you would normally do all this type of stuff in an audio message. We've got hours of audio messages, but for some reason it's really important for this to go public. And we knew there was going to be lots of background information. And when we go around the back with our live later to show these flowers, that needs to be live for us, because that's about connecting into... So for us, we've done the manifesting through words, but because the word pathways of our conscious intellectual minds aren't connected to certain pathways in the body, which create these end processes of the manifestations that we want, for us, it's like at the end of what it says out of the end of our shadow work poetry creations, especially, I don't know if we have this blurb on all of them, and we've made most of them private now for copyright because we don't understand, we don't fully know what's going to be copyrighted or not, and we don't want to get any more strikes on our channel. We have to look at that out the window and not at you, because we can see ourselves on the camera, and for now we need to keep our eyes open, but we need to look out the window. So if you're interpreting of us to being rude and it's upsetting you, then that's your stuff to work out and navigate. We're looking out the window because that's what we need to do to keep ourselves focused and grounded and not look at ourselves, because we aren't a master or ourselves yet, and we're not able to be completely compassionate and kind with ourselves, and we judge the way we look, which we aren't happy with at the moment, and that's okay. We're learning to love our body in all its states, and we do love our body. A lot of us do love our body in all our states, but we have suffered fatophobia and the fat and overweight thing in a very unhealthy way, but that's understandable. We were made to go to the gym when we were 10 to start losing weight, and our father has all these unhealthy things which has got imprinted onto us, and so everything for us has kind of gone into our weights and our looks, which I feel is one reason why we look the way we do, taking all the femininity and the beauty and everything out of it, so that we can deeply, unconditionally love ourselves. Yeah. And so we want our little ones, and we feel the need. It's about manifesting through being the vibration, manifesting through action rather than words is what's been important for us. And so for us, a lot of our channels and the things we do on all 4 channels is about manifesting through actions, facing fears, learning to be seen and heard, learning to navigate through our little and unhealthy attachments of views and comments and love from other people, which isn't real deep love and connection like you get in the tangible, but it gives us a platform, a stepping stone, not a platform as in YouTube, but a platform as a stepping stone or a catalyst to open doors to where we need to focus our attention or focus our love and our compassion and our kindness and our communications to help all of us understand what's important and what's not important. And when we see ourselves going into those unhealthy attachment, addiction things, there's a level of assessments. A lot of people can do internal processing and reflection. We can't do that. We've had people say to us in the past, think about it first before you speak. And it's like, well, we can't, it's this aspects of us that are involved in the internal processing that need to hear the information coming in from outside. Hence why we do and have so many hours and hours of audio diaries. We've got audio diaries that go on for like 4 hours, 5 hours of us talking things through from our therapist, our healthy mother, our healthy father, our internal mother, our internal father, what we didn't get. Healing those mother and father wounds, healing the generational trauma, talking it round, because our little ones need to come to these healthy frequencies and energies themselves through their own understanding and their own ways. It's about allowing them to do what they feel they need to do and want to do. And if that creates disappointment, then it creates disappointments, and we work through. It's just like a healthy mother and child, healthy father and child dynamics, we would say, where you're not shouting at your child, you're not telling them what to do, you're not telling them how to think, you're creating healthy boundaries for them to learn how to think and make choices and stand on their own 2 feet themselves. We've learned to stand on our own 2 feet, but we've learned to stand on our own 2 feet from fear of repercussions of all kinds of levels in the sexual, physical, mental, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse. None of it to the severity of what some people can get, but the fact it's in all of our energetic centers, all of our rainbow chakras, and because of the fact of our autism and our ADHD, we believe, and especially the fact of our fragility with the skin and our flexibility and our mercurialness in the body with the EDS, and the mind with the EDS, fibromyalgia, POTS, etc., it impacts us more so. So it's like if you've got a piece of material that's really bendy and a piece of plastic that snaps easy, the piece of plastic's not going to take much pressure. If you've got a towel that's really spongy and lovely and absorbs up a lot of water, but then a towel that's plastically, it doesn't absorb water. We're like the brittle plastic and the sponge, and so we absorb stuff up, but we break easy. And people see people with disabilities as a weakness and vulnerable, the weak link of society, but they're not. They're the gift of the society. They're the strong link of society, because anyone that has a child with a disability, especially autism where it's locked in, truly has to do the shadow dancing of learning compassion and unconditional love to be what the child needs. And they think it's one way because it's what the child needs, but it's not, because the child that's autistic is giving them so much they just are unaware about, because it's in these subtle quantum realms. So leaving that all behind, the live later on has to be done because it's our manifesting through actions for our little uns. The front of the house is a public garden. The public garden is part of our house. So if you look at the symbology of psychology through your castle and your house, is related to your body and your home and your temple, your body being your house of your soul, your consciousness. The garden is part of that because it's part of the space. Front of the house is like the conscious, the seen, the tangible. The front garden is seen by the public and the neighbours. The back garden is and we've got these on our videos as well. The back garden is this, we've got one which is specifically about the rainbow crossing through the conscious of the front garden out to through the rainbow crossing. We've got rainbow rugs in the house. Everything our littles have done to create our house is all part of the language of source energy through pattern, colour, symbology, number. The soul fundamental language of source energy before the left brain logic and linear tangible English words come into play. And so this back conscious is the back of the house and the garden is private, so that's a subconscious and it's private. But we've got a lane down the back which splits, so you've got the lane which is public, and then you've got another path which is public before the next lot of houses and gardens, and then you've been on the alleyway, so there's a crossroads, and the crossing in the calendar that we said about, out of the Mayan galactic calendar of the castle seasons, we've got the ripening yellow season coming up soon, And we've got the 5-day cleansing. We've already talked about that. Our calendar, one of our calendars is, we've got 2, and we've gone from all the fractal geometry and the animals into one that's like still animals actually, and one that's like different buildings, places around the world, not just buildings, like landmarks. And we're in something that looks like the Taj Mahal at the moment, but it's not. It's somewhere in, it's not Abu Dhabi. It's in the, somewhere in the, yeah, it is Abu Dhabi in the Emirates, but it's not Dubai, because Dubai is a big crypto place. And that's the reflection of a mosque in the waters. And it's kind of like a mosque like the Taj Mahal that we've been to in India, but it's got more of them. And it's a very good reflection of stillness in the water. So that's the mirrors, the shadow, the water, the scene and the reflection, the lunar, the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine. And then it's rhinoceroses crossing a road. So there's the crossing of the road of the rhinoceroses in the calendar. Oh, our battery's getting low. Then there's the crossing in the main galactic calendar, and then there's the crossroads at the back of our house. And all these plants we're on about is on the public side of the fence of the subconscious, not the private side of the fence of the subconscious. So for us, the private side of the fence of the subconscious is our own personal subconscious. The public side of the fence of the subconscious down the lane, which is out the back, is the collective unconscious. We go phases. Our back garden, our subconscious is a little bit messy at the moment. Oh, see, this is really exciting now because we've not actually had this out in words yet. This has just been all sensory and feeling. But all of these plants are in loads of little yellow flowers. We've got the sunflowers that we bought a few days ago, which we weren't going to buy. We've seen them for a couple of weeks and we weren't going to buy them. £6 for like a bunch, which is like 3. And it's like happened. It's like, oh, we'll get them then. Oh, we'll get them then. No. And then the other day it was like intuitively aligned to get them. They're £5.99, which is basically a 6. So we got 2 bunches. 6 is unconditional love, 66 is healing. We live at house number 66. And it was like 3 days before Ren's Vincent Tail thing came out, which is got the sunflowers in that are burning, and we're in the castle of burning now. We hadn't made that connection before. Oh, you can't see it. We've just been doing, I don't know if you can see up on, you can't zoom this way round. See up there, we've just framed all of our little, you can't see it very well, but we just framed our little ones and we're in the process of framing them. But they've got our Vincent van Gogh painting from when we were in GCSE art in like 1996 when we were 16 or something, or 14. And of course it was about Vincent van Gogh in that Ren song of Vincent's Tales. Vincent's is also like the name of our cousin in Toronto and Canada. There's a girl from Canada, maybe Toronto, that's just been in book club on Sunday last week. I think she's going to come this week, which is the second week of Slaughterhouse 5. So yeah, there's all these connections that come in. So all of this is symbolic because they relate to different chakra points and different realities. You have your virtual reality up here, which is kind of like the unseen reality, but through like technology. But you have your virtual reality of entertainment, like films and movies and soaps, etc. But then you've got your reality entertainment, documentaries, but then you've got your YouTube and you've got your serious YouTube people that are just normal. We're on YouTube, we're one of them, normal people just sharing their life or doing their thing. And you've got the people that are just normal everyday people sharing their life and doing their thing on YouTube that's more to the entertainment and not so authentic and transparent and real. And then you've got the other people that it's real and it's what you see, it is what you see is what you get. There's no like, you know. And so they're all the different, they're the reds, orange, yellows, greens, all of the wavelengths, threads, realities of the upper chakras. And so this other side of the fence, public side of the fence, the collective unconscious, we access the collective unconscious, and we can go deeper into that collective unconscious void. The deeper we go into our own personal subconscious void, the deeper we go into our central nervous system. And so generally it's not a very fun place to be. It gets illogical, it gets chaotic, it gets disordered, unless you're someone that's naturally grown up in those chaotic, disordered realms, and you are an artist and you work better in those chaotic circular system dimensions than you do in the logical societal dimensions. But that's what's familiar to you because you've been brought up in it. But if it's not what's familiar to you and you're then stepping into it, and we live in a society that's more left brain, linear and logical, and you then step into these as an adult without any kind of spiritual, unseen, energetic, quantum understandings of unseen energy and faith, that's where the psychological, hence why Ren comes into play again, that's then where the psychological chaos and mental health conditions and schizophrenia and everything comes into play. And we read an article once, I think it was before we went in the psych ward, of a shaman's perspective of a psych ward, and it's just all these people that do lose it in the Western world, that lose it in the mind, have that natural gift of tapping into the unseen and the untangible. It's just they have no background knowledge or experience or faith or anything to go with it, and so it creates distortion because it's all up here and it's not balanced throughout all the chakras. It's too much energy. Entropy, too much energy that's chaotic, entropy. And so people tend to get forced into the central nervous system, and then that brings out more of the victim consciousness, which is the society we live in anyway, and the drama triangles of life. And all of those have been the ones that have harmed us, that we've had to take ourselves away from, because otherwise our suicidal ideation gets stronger, and we've had to go through what we've gone through of stopping the body from killing itself and doing things from itself when you're losing your mind and you're locked inside and haven't got control of your body or your voice. It's it's terrifying, it's horrifying. And so hence why I had to cut off from everyone. Plus everyone was telling us that our actions were hurting them, but we weren't in control of our actions. All we needed was compassion and kindness and patience and unconditional love. But our energy is so strong that we bring other people to that void of vulnerability in themselves. And so other people are going into their victim and projecting onto us how our feelings and actions were, how we were impacting them. We weren't in control of it, but we were aware inside, but locked inside, not in control of it. And so we loved them, and so we set them free. But of course, we don't feel that they all understand that or know that or believe that, because we don't hear from anyone. And we would never do that to someone. We would never project onto someone who is severely physically and mentally ill. But of course, most people never understand when we're severe, because we don't present or express as severe when we are severe, because we've had to hide it all out of fear of consequences physically, mentally, emotionally and sexually from below the age of 4. Probably we've been troubled since we were in our mum's stomach, and so we were probably absorbing all this shit then, and it's all the generational stuff as well. But this is life, isn't it? If we are going to want to believe in certain things to understand other certain things, if we have the need to understand, then we're a smart ass soul to incarnate into these experiences in life. But if we're the same soul as our mum, because we believe we are the same soul as our mum, when a soul can incarnate into many bodies at once, the closer those bodies are together, the harder it becomes energetically. And so she could just never cope. Our energy, that soul couldn't cope. It advanced itself and thought it could handle more than it could actually handle. Well, that depends on the perspective of where we're quantifying and measuring it from. But we're sidegressing a lot, aren't we? So going back to, that's because we went into the collective unconscious energy. So it's like, whoa. So going back to the public collective unconsciousness, at the crossroads, it's just full of these loads of little beautiful yellow flowers. And it's the only one, all the other four corners aren't. It's just our area, and it's lit up with these yellow little flowers. And so all the little specks of our solar plexus, our self-empowerment, Shinto self-empowerment, Shintos, are coming together because of Shintosai, the Shinto's yoga experience, and loads of little bits coming together to make the lot. And we did actually do, with our kombucha, we kind of made a mistake, but we know that mistakes are never mistakes, because the accidents and the mistakes are what give us a new way of learning that we wouldn't have done had we followed the logic. And we put our new batch of green tea into the kombucha that was meant to go into the fridge and we were meant to have. And all the little bits kind of floated to the top as we were like, oh, we're just going to leave that and see if it creates another new SCOBY on its own, because it didn't have a SCOBY in it at all. And it did. We've just actually had some of that yesterday as well, so that's been really abundant. We had 2 glasses morning and night. That's been abundant because we broke our fast yesterday as well, so the day before was a fasting day, so all these little connections coming together. Oh, it was horrific as well yesterday, the anger and then the frustration and the fear and then the emotional FOMO, and this is all kind of from Bitcoin's our catalyst for this. But we need these catalysts, because if we don't get these catalysts, we don't have anything to trigger these emotions. But it needs to be, I suppose, not other people that are triggering these emotions, because when it's other people that are triggering these emotions, it's too easy to place blame and not take responsibility and see our own part in something. And so, but we move through them really quickly and would go off and do our thing and then come back and have a chat in the mirror to ourselves and to us and say what we believe to be happening, and whether it's true or not, irrelevant. We'll do our best to choose to believe it's what's happening, because that follows the Bruce Lipton and epigenetics to the best of our ability, and we'll shift energy. And we got ourselves back on the walk. Was that the second walk? I think that was the second walk. I think we got ourselves back on the walk the day before. We can't remember if yesterday was the first day we saw these yellow flowers or not, or if it was the second day and it was Thursday we saw them. I think it might have been yesterday, because I think we wanted to get ourselves for a walk on Thursday, but we didn't quite manage it because we were tidying and cleaning the house ready for a group chat that didn't transpire, sadly, but will transpire hopefully on the 1st of August instead, for the quarter moon energies. And this is a big deal for us because it's the first time, like, apart from book club, which we started almost 2 years ago, it's the first time of starting something else like this again. And that's been really beneficial, the book club, but it's time to expand again and face some more fears again. And we feel the right group of people to come together. And so we're attempting to catalyse and organise it, so we'll see if it happens. But yes, it's just amazing, this confidence, the little bits of yellow, the little bits of the solar plexus, the empowerment. Our breath is helping as well. And this is another way of communicating to certain ones of us that aren't connected to other ones of us. And when all of us get our different bits of signs and communications through these different ways of expressing and communicating, then those pieces of the puzzle can kind of come together. So when the yellow is communicated to us through the red lens of perception, when the yellow is communicated to us through the orange lens of perception, which is just red and yellow together anyway, but if our yellow is not functioning, then the orange isn't going to be really functioning very well. But the orange, so rather than saying that, when the yellow gets communicated to us through the green lens, when the yellow gets communicated for us through the purple lens. So let's take out the colour, and let's say the red is the physical, the orange is the emotional, the yellow is the chemical, the green is the balanced, the blue is the communication or expression. Blue is expression, communication. Indigo, blue is expression, objective, outward communication. Writing, drawing, dance, movement. It is an expression that the objective other can see, experience, read, hear, watch, feel. Whereas the oh, this is fascinating. We've not come up with this before either. Whereas the blindigo is the subjective, the internal communication. And so it's not an expressions, but the internal expression wouldn't be expression. But internal expression is like inwards evolution. So you understand what evolution is, but take that and put that inwards so that it's a subjective experience rather than an objective, collective, external reality experience. There's one little leaf on the top of this extended branch that's growing on the bush opposite, which actually kind of looks like a star from this kind of perspective. It's really cool. It looks like the star on the top of a Christmas tree. And so when you speak about that, I suppose the yellow is the chemical. So it's the chemical expressing through the physical, the chemical expressing through the emotional, the chemical hasn't completely connected through the chemical yet, the chemical expressing through the balance, the chemical expressing through the outward communication, the chemical expressing through the inward communication, to then the chemical connecting with the divine. So then, okay, that is making sense to us, because the chemical expressing through the physical is us sorting out our hormones. So the chemicals relating to the hormones. The breath also helps to release the chemicals and do all the balance the chemicals, the way we use our breath and how we breathe. Nose, mouth, length, speed, environment, what we're breathing in, out, carbon dioxide, the ratios, the fractions of them. And so the physical is like your foods. What are you getting? Organic foods or not? Organic foods technically are meant to have more vitamins and nutrients, but even if the food's organic and it's grown in shit soil, it's not going to have nutrients. So you got to understand the chain. The chemicals in the emotions. Well, the chemicals, the hormones, help create the emotions. For us, the main big thing is if we want to sort out this personality, dissociative identity disorder, personality is a long-term character trait. A character trait is a long-term mood. A mood is a state of experiential perception through the body. It's not just a mental state. All this stuff that says it's just a mental state, change your mental state, change your mental perception, doesn't work. We've been doing that for decades. We did that for decades. It goes into toxic positivity if one isn't understanding the connections to the rest of the body. And if someone that believes that it does work and that doesn't believe these other people when it say it doesn't work, they're the ones that are luckier because their bodies and their mental state perception are fully aligned and connected, and that's why it works for them. And they haven't had as much shit happen to them or their generational cultural lineage to fuck up, mess up the alignment in their energetic patterning and disconnect the head from the body, the head from the heart. And so therefore they need to learn more compassion. They need to learn to be open-mindedness more and non-judgment, because at the end of the day, they've actually got it a lot easier than these other people that are doing what they're saying and it's not working. And I suppose that's where we're going to be a bridge, because you don't get, you get people that do have autism or do have this. You don't get many people that have got all of it together and the emotional stuff. Because when you do have all of it together and the emotional stuff, even though we find ourselves wanting to say it sometimes, if we can do it, you can do it. That is just the most uninclusive, immature victim consciousness statement we feel. We've spent years analysing this statement. And for someone to say that just goes to show they've still got a lot of victim consciousness to dance through, that runs deep, and they're not quite at those depths yet. And we know it because we've got the extremities. We've got the future and the beginning in the Leo of the tangible, and everything in the middle in the void. And so we know that little immature thing because we live in it every day, but we're living it from a distorted, way society, if we were able to be like someone in society and keep the mask on and project the rest and mask our emotional pains and the rest of it with our intellectual language and deceived words and talk ourselves through anything, then it'd be okay. You don't see how emotionally traumatized and damaged we are, and yeah, it's just like England's terrible for it, repression and oppression, and mask it with the rest of it. And as long as you don't show it, you're okay. But if you show it and you're real and you're organic and you're transparent and you're authentic, generally they don't like it. And they don't like it because it takes them to the vulnerable within them, where they feel weak and vulnerable, because that's their judgment and their belief system. But we're here to show you that being vulnerable with strength, being vulnerable out of the victim consciousness with compassion and through the lens of the heart, is strength and courage. And this is what the world needs more of. You can still see how our left part of the mouth is kind of tight, and it's interesting because the left part's tight and the right part's loose. But the bits that we're connected to in our body, the right part's tight and the left part's loose and disconnected. But our tongue and our lips represent the deepest internal parts of us, and we are still with the collarbone that's, you know, separated. It's the extreme rigidity and the extreme sponge. It's the polar opposites that are there because we haven't created the rest of it to bring it into the wholeness and the balance. And so you notice that. And if you look back at videos from us right near the start, near the psych ward, that you can see that distortion a lot. And we actually see this distortion on a lot of people. There's you won't mention her name, but there is a YouTuber we've noticed with this distortion, which goes to show the same thing, patternology is going on in her depths. But there's also another YouTuber, he has got the really squinty left eye. And for us, that's just people that don't balance out the left and right digest and rest vagus nerve with the active fight and flight. They're too much in the doing. And these are the spiritual people we've been watching as well, or listening to. We stop. We don't watch them very much. We don't watch anyone that's got, or embrace anyone too much that's got the similar patterns going on. Because if we embrace energies of someone that's got similar patterns to us, which we're attempting to change, we aren't able to change it. It just reinstates it, amplifies it, and reaffirms it. Because as much as we can help bring other people into our energy, we also get sucked into, we get sucked into other people's, we feel that off other people, we feel the other person's energy, especially if it's resonant with our frequencies. I don't know if we explained that very well. So going back, so yeah, the yellow flowers at the end of the lane was really profound for us, because something to do with the public collective unconscious is, the potential energies of the public collective unconscious. So you've got our unconscious, we've got our collective unconscious from the perspective of the collective of the bacteria and the cells, but then you've got the collective unconscious of Mother Earth, the collective unconscious of the galaxy, the collective unconscious of humanity. So the collective unconscious, the public collective unconscious for us is of humanity. We have no issues with Earth and the galaxy, really. It's mainly the humanity that we have issues with. Is all yellow and in the solar plexus energies in their little parts. And that is what we're tapping into, because had we done what we normally would do, we would have pulled them out, de-weeded them and created the space, and they wouldn't have grown. But we've left them there to flower and to get those energies. And so, or that's our perception and our choice of perception. That is the communication from the external going into the aspects of us that aren't connected internally, because it needs to go out and then come in again, that then can connect to those ones that couldn't connect without that journey, to say that actually this is where we're at. So it's not them as such that are making the connection. It's us doing that process to give us the communication to show, look, this is what's going on in us. We have these pathways and these potentials open, but we're not able to send you the letter or the email. Your email box is full. We've got the wrong address. Your telephone number isn't working. You've changed your number. There's no communication pathways for us to get this information to you, that the door's open. It's going to be open for this amount of time. The train's in, the bus is in. You've got this amount of time to kind of do it. And we've been under the aspects of us to learn about time. That's where the field and the seeds and the whole process of the field, because the other field we're walking through, that was at the end of its crop cycle that hadn't been harvested yet. And we got to see the beauty of this fodder, of these beautiful purple, I think, cornflowers, and the purple and the grey in the wheat, and the glistening of the water in the sunrise. Whereas at this other field, it was right at the very end. It was empty, it was dead, and it was just mud. There was nothing in it growing at all. So we got to see the end of the cycle, the crossover of the end and the start, when there's like nothing in it. And now that one has nothing in it, and it's preparing for the next crop, the next cycle, and there's a few other fields around. So we're getting to understand, these ones of us are getting to have their physical, tangible experience of external 3D Saturn Father time, linear time, which, having gone a decade in the position that we're in, it's understandable how it's taken us so long to do what we're doing, when there's a lot of us that we're mainly living in that have no concept of time. And it's only when the moments come out of the conscious intellectual time, one's like, oh my God, I can't believe that much time's gone again. And the awareness lately that was that we missed contributing our book choices into the voting section of Book Club. We've never missed one of them in the almost 2 years that we've been there, but we missed it. And we were noticing we're managing to keep posting our community posts every day on our YouTube channels with the Mayan Galactic Calendar, even if it's just on the one channel, because we've got the 4 of them. And we were noticing that even when we were editing it a few times, we were still getting some of our words wrong and still missing certain things out, which shows us that we're in our little networks and we're losing parts. But the amazingness there is that we've got that conscious awareness more and more in the moment, or just after the moment, rather than it being months, weeks, months and years. It's just like days, a week or two. And so the last thing that we wanted to say, which we really wanted to say at the start, is to do with these angles again, these fractions, these ratios, which we had a thing of yesterday, which has come from the 1320 time that the Mayan Galactic Calendar functions on, because 13 times 20 is 260, and there's 260 days in the Mayan Galactic Calendar. The 13 relates to 13 tones of creation, and the 20 relates to the 20 glyphs, the 20 solar tribes. And so therefore, if you've got 20 solar tribes and you've got the 13 tones, you've got tone 1, the magnetic tone of creation, which creates the wave spout. So you've got 13 wave spout, where each glyph is the main frequency for those 13 days, which then has all the other glyphs in it. So it's like all, let's say the glyphs, the red, that red of the chakra colour is the main theme for those 13 days, and then you've got all the other 13 colours of the chakras. So you've got the red of the red, the orange of the red, the yellow of the red, the green of the red, the pink of the red, the teal of the red, the blue of the red, the indigo of the red, the violet, the gold, the silver, the black, the white. I don't know how many we mentioned then, but you got all of them of the red. And then you go on to, so that's like 1 red, and then you go on to 1 orange, and you have all those colours of the orange, and the orange is like the 2, and then you've got 1 3, 1 4, all the way up to 120, because you've got 20 glyphs. That's 20. So these are the different permutations of 1 up to 20. 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, 1 10, 1 15, 1 16, 1 20. then you go through the twos. So you've got 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 10, 2, 15, 2, 20. Then you've got 3. And so you've got all the way up to 13 because you've got 13 tones of 13 tones of creation. So if we didn't change the glyph number and we kept with the same glyph, we kept with 1, which is, let's say, red dragon. Oh, so the red works really well, actually, for red dragon, doesn't it? Then you've got 1, 1 with the red dragon. You've got tone 2 with the red dragon. You've got tone 3 with the red dragon. And so when you've got red dragon, which is 1, let's if we use number 1 instead of the words or the colours, you've got 1 to 20. 10 divided by 1 is 10. 13 divided by 1 is 13. It's all the whole numbers. So it's really interesting to see where this is going, because we used to do linear logical maths before our seizures, but after our seizures that's gone out the window, and now we're just attempting to get ourselves around all these simple maths. And so this is going to bring us into language. So we've already made the awareness and the connections with our dyslexia and a processing language disorder. How about what we aren't able to process, what we aren't, like Virgo? It took us ages to remember that Virgo, on the simple terms, was connected to our intestines and our abdomen. We couldn't remember it. Why couldn't we remember it? Because our intestines and our gut biome and bacteria were that fucked up, and our abdomen is a outward expression of what your gut biome and your internal organs and everything are doing at the end of the day, because it's a sign of the health, and like the muscles. But we aren't about making our outer body look good anymore, because for us it's a priority of health and no pain. It's not about no pain, no gain, because if we continued down that path we would have killed ourselves. And so also the cancer is the breast, chest area and stomach, and they're the areas of us that really don't have any kind of connection. And interestingly enough, for us, our cancer's in our house 11, which is Aquarius's home. And our Aquarius home, our Aquarius energies, is in Virgo's home of house 6. And our Virgo is in house 1 and 2 of Aries and Taurus. And so the language affects the body. So like O would be very much the shape of the ball and socket in your shoulder or your hip joint. L is very much the hinge joint of your knee and your elbow. So these and R's and W's we used to have great trouble with. We're not even going to go into them, because we haven't made, those are just ones that are coming out in this moment that we've made connections to. We don't want to get lost. But we've been doing all this, like, even way before the seizures, like you're going back 2 decades now. We would start cleaning our teeth with the opposite hand and doing everything with the opposite hand. So if we're used to opening the door with the right hand, we'll open it with our left hand, etc., etc., to change the wiring in the brain, because we've been on this self-awareness journey of bettering ourselves to help heal ourselves since we overdosed at 18. But we would start losing ourselves more and more, rather than connecting and making sense of things more and more, which is what's meant to do when you do self-awareness and self-development. It's very demotivating and doesn't help you going. So it's been like 2.7, almost 3 decades we've been doing this for. It really makes us wonder how we're still alive. With no deep, unconditional, loving connection ever, apart from ourselves. And that's the most important, and that's what we aim to get out to people, because only then truly can we create healthy, balanced individuals, which is the new human, the future human that creates the new earth, the future earth of harmony and peace and compassion and inclusion and grace and gratitude and forgiveness, all starting with the self first. Because you may feel that you can do it for others, but if you can't do it for yourself, but you can feel you're doing it for others, then it's not real. It's not deeply real. It may be a superficial real, a deeper than superficial real, not superficial as in fake, but a deeper than superficial real, but it's not real depth. And it will normally be entangled with drama triangles of rescuer, perpetrator, victim, or parent, child, and adult. And when, because we are sorting out our victim energies, we were attracting rescuers, and if the rescuer came in, it amplified our victim energies, it amplified the suicidal ideation, and we weren't being able to cope. So we need to not kill ourselves, we want to stay alive. What's making this worse? The outside factors of people not being balanced and being in their rescuer. And no one can be in their rescuer too long. They then go into their victim or the perpetrator. And if someone's more inclined to switch first to their victim after being the rescuer, then we'll go into our perpetrator. And we know that we can survive on our own. And then we know that if we had to, we probably could kill if it came to it. We know we're not in control of our actions, and we don't want to harm anyone, so therefore we have to cut them off. We have to love them and set them free. No one understands what we've been through because of our incapabilities of communicating it, but all of it has come from pure, deep, innocent, childlike awe, unconditional love to not hurt them. Plus, we can't handle our conscience afterwards, and so that would just add to the suicide if we did hurt them. So I feel we've done more amazing than the majority of people to do all that. And most people can't even do that in their everyday life when we're going through our most severe, hellish, severe mental and physical health stuff and mental stuff. And then the other victim and everyone is, I just wish they could have done a bit more, especially when they weren't going through as much as us. We don't have the healthy words to phrase that bit yet. So the language, that took us on one, didn't it? So we've been doing all the work in the body, in the nervous system, in the muscles, in the brain, in the heart, so that then this lovely YouTube viewer, hi, you know who you are, has been someone that we would have just loved the people that apparently loved and cared for us before to have done, which was not give up on us, not have to be dictated to be told what they need to do, not listen to the protector of us that told them to keep away and stay away because we were going to kill ourselves, because they unconditionally love us. And they're smart enough and wise enough to know that when someone's hurt, they hurt people. And that actually what we were doing then was to protect them from harm. And that actually we need unconditional love and compassion and forgiveness and patience in our life because we've never had it. But of course, no one can do that for us because they can't do it for themselves. And people are scared of us, intimidated by us, and no one really is bothered to ever. You'd only do it for your child. You only do it for the immediate family that you really love and care for and that you want in your life. And you don't want someone in your life that holds up a mirror to your shadows, which we don't do purposely. We just do by being us. So fuck them all. We're going to cut them all off. We're moving on with our life. Although we have attempted to reconnect with a few people, but it hasn't seemed to work. And we've still got a few more people we want to attempt to reconnect to. But unless things like actually properly change without us having to be the one that does whatever, we're putting our energy into us now because we only have limited amounts of energy and we don't even have enough for us and to cook and clean and wash and then do the other things to get ourselves ahead. And so if we don't have enough for that, we don't have enough for others. But yet we still attempt to make it enough to reconnect, even though we know it's going to relapse us. And so we have to do it rare and not very often, because it does relapse us and bring us into those more of the rejection and the abandonment stuff and all kinds of things. And so we have to be very attentive and careful of how we do things. But going back to one of the most important things, an hour 17 in, was the language. All the rest had been done. This YouTube viewer who's become a friend now is in our Discord community. Hopefully going to have our first face-to-face soon. Her daughter has a Duolingo plan and they offered for us to be on the family plan. Now it's been, I'm sure, I don't know, I'd have to look back, but I'm sure it's been probably about 6 months, if not longer, where we'll still get a message every so often with the Duolingo link and what to do. And the last time it came through, it's like we were really up for it and we were going to do it, but I think we switched then because then it became that was 2 weeks ago and we were up for doing it in the next 10 minutes or something. But we've done it now, and it's been great. So today is Saturday. We haven't done today's yet, but tomorrow, when we've done today's, that'll be 1 full week of doing it. And we're already noticing the impact of learning a new language, which we haven't learned before. We've done a little bit of Spanish, but it didn't kind of go very well. We've done a little bit of Latin. It didn't go well. They didn't go very well because they were at the same time as doing French. And we were all getting confused between all the different languages. French, we did do okay at because we would go to France and we'd actually talk it and communicate it. So we weren't very good at the written or the grammar, but we're not very good at the English written or the grammar. And the English written and grammar isn't logical and structured. Which is, we're not even going to go down that side ramp. And so we didn't want to do French because we kind of already knew, well, one of us did because we already knew it and we thought it'd be easier. But the final thing that got us into doing it is we want to move to Portugal. Well, we want to buy land and not be tied. Our dream's always been to buy land and build a house. But now we're not on disability benefits anymore. We can't afford to live where we're staying. So we have to buy land somewhere so we don't have any mortgage and we've got minimal overheads. And Portugal's more crypto friendly than England. We've never really thought we'd live in England anyway. So we're attempting to manifest somewhere that's more suitable for us for our future, which is what we've always been attempting to manifest. But it's becoming more real now. It's also becoming more scary because it's like, well, will we be able to cope? Will we be able to cope living off land? And it's kind of like, but our main thing is like, buying land and restoring it to its natural habitat. So it's really restored to its natural habitat. It will need minimum. So it brings in the wildlife. It will need minimum effort. And that one of our things will be to show how you can have a whole pile of physical and mental disabilities or differing abilities that are gifts, limited energy, but still live these types of lives that one wants to live, but in a different way that's in a more of a symbiotic relationship to nature, because nature and animals are the one thing we've always had and been connected to. That's the one thing we've always had the strength, and that's the snowflake, the Native American Indians again. We have had the cosmic stuff, but the cosmic stuff's come from the Catholic Church and our father's side of the family, but it's been very fucked up with the sexual abuse from a personal level, from a generational level with him, and from a collective consciousness level. So that's been taking us a long time to get through. And we're almost there, but I don't think we'll ever almost be there until we're actually with someone where that has to be interacted with again, because our last experience, 4 years between our last experience and the experience after that with someone, which we did everything the right way, but of course he wasn't, emotionally he wasn't mature, and we needed someone with emotional maturity and good communication skills, which we didn't say about the emotional maturity, but we did say the communication skills. But then he realised he didn't actually have the self-awareness and didn't know himself that well, and really messed us up. Accidentally, but really messed us up. And so, that was 2018. I don't even know if we're capable of having a relationship, or we're capable of loving. We don't know if anyone's capable of loving us because of our differences. It'd have to be a very unique, special person, just like we're unique and special, and be able to go to the depths in themselves. But sidetracking again, we learned, so that's where we want to manifest. And so finally, because our little ones have to do it, we did it. Our little ones joined the Duolingo family plan of this friend. And we've been learning Portuguese for a week. Because Portugal is where we feel, it's affordable for property. It's near the coast. Its weather's better. It's more crypto friendly. So we're saying Portugal or somewhere better that's more suited to all our needs and all our wants, and etc. We've done a little bit of astrocartography, but we haven't actually started really delving into it. We don't fully understand it yet, but we probably will look into that a bit more because we do find that fascinating. And apparently there's only 3 places to live. But it makes us wonder, like, if you are with a partner, if there's only 3 places for you and 3 places for your partner, does that mean that you hope one of them overlap, or do you do the composite chart of you and your partner together and where it is that you live then, which is really best on the land? Because I know that here is not for us, especially Cornwall. because it's where our traumas happened. Like if you met us when we're travelling, we're a completely different person, and people are attracted and drawn to us more. Here in Cornwall, no one wants to be around us. Because people don't want to face their shadows, they don't want to face their depths and their fears. And when you're around us, that's what we're having to do to align ourselves. It's obviously why we had to come back to Cornwall to go into these energies. And it's not just them, it's us too. Like we're really not in a place of emotional strength to connect with people from our past again and start talking into all this stuff just for them to reject us and abandon us again. And lots of people consciously want to do it, but when it really comes down to doing it, they can't. And we know this from experience. It's not just from what we think is going to happen. It's what we know it from experience, you know, our experience, witnessing others. People don't go there unless they have to. And also at the same time, we can't just do that polite, fake chit chat anymore. We can be civil and polite, but we can't just like hold a conversation or do the rest of it. So yeah, we're not even going to go down there, sidetracked again. It does go on to that because all of that is still always so closely connected and deeply connected in our heart. And so learning Portuguese and the Duolingo app's so fun and so great for our littles. It makes learning actually fun, because learning language has always been really hard. It's why we didn't go to Wales, because you had to learn, well, we were going to do primary teaching and you had to learn Welsh, and it's like, oh God, we can't even do English. And it's like, remember all our challenges. So it's like, nah. But then we decided to do secondary teaching, and we decided, I don't know if you had to learn Welsh for secondary teaching. It might have just been primary, but then we ended up going to Exeter. But I think Bangor was one of the places we were going to go, which is where Ren lives. I know it would have been great for us to go there, I think. So the language has been so great for so many reasons, but the real reasons is that whole thing of changing your dominant hand, cleaning your teeth with your other hand, doing all those things. The learning a new language is setting up new pathways that haven't been influenced by anything in your life before. So when you learn a completely new language that you haven't been connected to before, like if we'd done French, it wouldn't have worked because we kind of already knew it, but that's connected to our family. Irish, connected to I haven't done it before, but it's connected to our family. So we had to learn something that was completely disconnected. And also Mariana M.N. Tarot is from Brazil, and they speak Portuguese in South America. And so having those connections with her live like that and intimate, has opened up pathways in us, like we've opened up pathways in her, because she's never seen the sun green before, but we believe that she saw the sun green because she had channels in her that were open and ready to receive. We had channels in us that were open and ready to receive, and we communicated in a way that was much more profound and much deeper than just the conversation that's going through the mouth. For us, that's always been the most limited. We've said that over and over again. We don't know if she agrees with that. We haven't said that to her yet. We need to do a message to her and say that this is what we believe to be the case. But she probably would, because the communications with her have been lovely, and she probably would actually agree because she's never seen it like that before. And when we explain it how we've explained it, then I think it would make sense to her, because there's a lot of stuff that makes sense. And so there's just these whole package of stuff going on, because we haven't really got the words for it, but the language has been important. And now to get to the very last bit, going back to the sun gazing and the angles in the sky. Like in winter, the sun is lower down in the sky, but the moon is lower down in the sky. Well, no, is it? No, because that's winter. We're not in winter now. We're in summer. So at the very end of spring and the very start of summer, so maybe it's the very end of autumn and the very start of winter. Yes, it is, because winter is 21st of December, isn't the middle of winter, it's the start of winter, kind of. And then you've got 21st January is 1 month, 21st February is midwinter. So yeah, it's the end of autumn and the start. We just made that conscious connection. The end of autumn, the start of winter is when the sun's lowest down in the sky, but the end of spring and the start of summer is when the moon is lower down in the sky. And when we do moon gazing or sun gazing or sun bathing or moon bathing, because we come and sleep, well, we sleep in our lounge anyway, but sometimes if we're not in our lounge anymore, the full moon will bring us back out into our lounge to sleep on the floor to moon bathe through the open window. But the light codes that is coming in through the sun or the moon has the coding of that angle. And so obviously for us, the moon being low down in the sky has been really... Hello Zendaya, how are you? How are you, gorgeous boy? How are you? Let's say hi to camera. You say hi to the camera. You're not one for the camera, are you? And so that angle of refraction is really important. We haven't brought the moon into our awareness before. Before, for us, it was the sun connected to the astrological signs. And so the angle and positioning and the mathematics of the position of the sun in the sky combined with those astro energies, when one does sun gazing, they're receiving that mathematic angular coding through the light codes. And if you do it sun gazing in the morning at sunrise or sun gazing in sunset, it's a different polarity of that mathematical information that's being received through the light codes. So that was the main bit that we wanted to get to, but we had to go through all of that other lovely narratives and stories first, which we'll find out whether it was boring or not. I don't think it was boring when we listen back to it, and we're gonna upload this now. We prefer the look of ourselves now than laying down. Don't feel it's like the passionate, all those like things that have the square heads, but they have the square heads with the neck. But yeah, we just think that's amazing. Like, we're noticing with the language, the angles and patterns in the body to the angles and the patterns through the light codes, and everyone calls it different, you know. Angles, just switch the E and the L around and you got angels. It's all depends whether we lay in the dimensions of imaginations and stories, which is what humanity has done for years, or if we're wanting to bring those imaginative stories, dimensions, actually into the real world, because we're needing to ground those faster vibrating frequencies. And to do that, we need to bring them into the body, and to bring them into the body, we need health and we need strength in our body. And if you're someone that doesn't suffer from physical ailments like EDS or mental stuff like autism and the rest of it, you're much luckier because your body can handle it easier. But yet we hear a lot of these people sound more like a victim than people that actually are victims from society's perspective. And so it's just like we want to say man up, grow up, but we don't, because that's awful terminology. But it's like, how can the people that have it easier be ones that sound more victim-like sometimes? But if you do have all these labels and disorders and disabilities that society sees as a weakness and limiting, then they're not. And we know how hard it is. But we still hold on to that hope that they are the gifts, because they are the gifts to humanity to bring in all these stronger, deeper, more expansive frequencies of unconditional love and compassion. And you hear Pam Gregory and all these people talking about it, but when they actually get confronted with people in the comments to actually apply this stuff to, I don't know about Pam, they don't show it to them as much. You only hear them showing it to the people that have the harder limits, if the people that have the disabilities are able to communicate. Because we, in Lee Harris's Portal community, we had an awful experience, and that's meant to be a community of compassion and love, and it's like, well, we didn't have that experience at all. And we've had that a few times with a few different places where it says this, and it's because they haven't gone to the depths. And it's very much related to first aid and the ambulance. You know, you go to a scene, the ones that are screaming and shouting, they're not the ones that need it the most. It's the ones that are quiet and laying there that are in a serious condition. And personally, we believe that's how it ought to be in the dynamics of life in general. But we're not in that dynamics. I mean, just look at trending and YouTube and virals and the rest of it. That's not to say that Lee Harris isn't like that himself. He's a leader of a community. This is the experience we got in the community. There's so many more dimensions. So we're not condescending them, but we are sharing our experience that wasn't a good one from their community. When actually we feel that we're the most primary person that can help them develop their community into a place to really apply what they're saying to tangible experience. But we've never had the capability of communicating this before, and so therefore it goes amiss. And so they're right from the start is something that's wrong with society, and that's why people with autism and the telepathy tapes and this psychic communication is so important. And it's not psychic communication, it's heart communication. It's when we came round consciously in the psych ward to 8 people physically restraining us, being pulled in all directions, to actually getting 3 of them to let us go, because we communicated through our hearts and our hearts and eye-to-eye contact, going, you know, this is wrong, this isn't right. You're telling us to relax. We can't talk to you. We can't move. We're locked inside. We can't relax because of all of your fears. You need to get at least 3.3 foot away from us, at least a meter away from us, so we're not absorbing your energy through our physical electromagnetic aura of the red vibration. And we just said this through our heart with so much compassion, going, we know, you know. And they did. 3 of them let us go. The others generally wouldn't look at us, because you know when you're in that condition, you're not doing something that feels good. It feels awful. And if it feels awful for you that's doing it, it feels awful for the other person as well. And this is where our systems really need to change. And so, yeah, this has been a really insightful conversation, and that light mathematical coding through mathematical programming through light codes. Mathematical coding through sun and moon light codes, especially the sunrise and sunset. Ciao for bye-bye. But we're trying to think of a word. Obrigado. It's thank you because it's longer. We kept getting it mixed up with great. Ottimo. Portugal sounds like a cross between of like Italian, French and Spanish, but I suppose that might make sense. there's bits of Italian that kind of comes up, but it reminds us when we went to Sicily. That's like a magical fairy tale story entwined with trauma ending. We know the French, obviously, and then there's bits of the Spanish as well. I don't know how we know the Spanish as much. But yeah, we're going to go now. It's getting on long. So, toodalere, au revoir, amigos. Ciao.